So this program to address that particular say communication skill isn't overrated by any chance. So this is an introspection that the Cambridge University would want to have with their program titled India HR Summit. So this is going to be once again a panel discussion, a thoughtful, a meaningful discussion for academicians, for industry people. We would encourage you to be there. We will share more details with you. There are of course going to be case studies. Dr. Sonia is here. So with Wellinger, we are hosting this, co-hosting this program with respect to decision making and case writing to design thinking, corporates or in smaller organizations or larger organizations. However, we are still inclined to say, trying to make it as Indian as possible. We will, these details are available on the website. Please feel free to enroll yourself. It's a 2-weekend session. Yeah. Val is here from Talent Makers. Thanks, Val. She is, she's from Talent Makers, by the way. She's brought SciTech into India. PTC is a certification course. Now, NHRD is very glad to encourage programs that will enhance and build capability in the industry. For NHRDians, the institute, that is Talent Makers and the SciTech, are very glad to offer a special price for all NHRD members. Please log on or call the number. We will share more details with you. Mailers are going to be in your inboxes soon. We are partnering with Salt March, which is launching recruitment and sourcing, once again a summit specifically for talent acquisition. This is sometime in August though. There is an early bird offer, and which is at a, say the regular offer is I think some 10K plus or something like that. For NHRDians, it is 6K. So these are the little things that we are trying to bring in for NHRD members, and say that's value for the membership. The other two things that I would want to mention is the Zyme.
The slide says March 6th. Is it April 6th or March 6th?
Right, the early bird offer.
Oh, it's over?
No, it's there. We have extended that.
Oh, so you tell us the date.
Yeah. So it's up to April. We will share the updated mailer as well. So you will have the early bird offer till April. They have been kind enough to extend that for us. The other one is there is a workshop, 2-day workshop, a residential workshop at XIME with reference to interpersonal effectiveness. Manoj Varghese, the former Google and Facebook, yeah, he is going to be the facilitator. You can kindly register. So all these programs with reference to the continuing education and the cluster meets will reach out to you, say maybe in the next 1 week or 10 days. Please feel free to register. Thank you so much, and over to this. I think you know. If you are not
coming to the session, the way NHRD works is Bala and Sunita do all the boring stuff like updates. I get to do all the exciting. The way we have set up this event is we have 50 HR heads who have come in to interact with you folks. There are some big names. We'll shortly introduce you to them. But before that, I want to introduce the Spencer Stewart search consultants who have come here. We have Mutaya Venkateshwaran from Spencer Stewart as well. So Mutaya was a consultant with McKinsey for several years and became a search consultant about a year ago. We also have Piyush Doshi, Spencer Stewart for several years. He specifically has led several HR head search assignments for Spencer Stewart. So I'll hand over the stage to Mutaya and Piyush to take you through the session and also explain the format in which the session is going to be done.
Industry professionals at the step up. So we just had a brainstorming session. Michelle CCD, Om Prakash from Deutsche Bank, Bryce Paul from Deutsche Bank, Vinay from the Human Spirit Academy. There are stronger. Whoever is interested. By the way, Bryce is not from HR. Am I right, Bryce?
From sales.
From sales, and he is interested and passionate to connect with the students. So anybody who is passionate to give back to the students.
I actually wanted to start off by saying we are excited to be here. Personally, we are, but at the same time, we are sad that India lost. So there is excitement of personally being here, and this helps us forget what happened during the day. Thanks a lot to NHRD for inviting us. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here.
So much so, we had to organize for television screening here. We thought we would have come. But got over, we are fortunate to have a large crowd.
So, the way we'll conduct the session is Piyush and I will spend probably just 10 minutes, right, setting a high-level stage on as the executive search consultants. Just a quick introduction about Spencer Stewart. We are a global executive search firm. We are actually headquartered in Chicago. We've been around for close to 60 years. We do a variety of work working with top teams, with senior level recruitment, as well as we do a variety of work around leadership assessment, CEO succession planning, board assessments, culture transformations and things like that. So what we wanted to do is at least start off with sharing a little bit of perspective on when clients hire us, when CEOs bring us in, boards bring us in and say, help us find a head of HR, what are the type of questions they're asking us, right? So we start at the top, and then what we do is, to Jayan's point, there are 15 HR heads who have agreed to kind of run this session for us. So you will distribute it to groups. There will be one HR head who will join each group. And then for 20 minutes, it's an open conversation where they will share their perspectives. What is their story? What has made them successful? As well as answer any questions that each of you have to ask them about how the journey has played out and what are some tips and tricks and things like that. And then after 20 minutes, they will move out to another table and somebody else will come. So each table will get at least 2 folks to interact with, right? Just that's the format of how we plan to run the day. So coming back, room filled with HR folks. How many of you are excited to be in HR? I had to be honest, it's a very underwhelming response. Because it's changing. Others.
It's challenging.
It's challenging.
It is the people who drive the business. So taking care of the people is our prime.
Taking care of people. Okay? Never a dull day. Awesome.
Because we couldn't get a line job.
Fascinating. Fascinating. It's interesting to hear that. So when CEOs bring us in and say, hey, we need your help to find a head of HR. What are they typically looking for?
On and on about various things that our clients look for when they are looking to hire senior leaders in the HR profession. But I would start off by saying that each search, each requirement is different. That said, yes, there are a few things which always come up. But also, let me start with a small anecdote, which will also help you understand how things could be same, but there are nuances. So, whenever we go out for a head of HR search, you would understand, right? We start by saying, okay, what are the things you need? And this is not just true for HR actually. When you do any kind of search, you could put down your criteria in kind of 3 broad buckets, and you can have more classification, but we use 3 broad ones. One is the core CV attributes. What you could read, which school, which companies, what's your title, what you could read in 30 seconds from a CV. So that's kind of the core CV attributes. The second set of things are the next level within the CV, which are your functional expertise. So, within the CV, if you're looking for a sales job, have you driven growth? In case of HR, have you done transformation? Have you done IR? Have you done cost reduction? Have you done growth? So that's the next set of attributes, which could be different in different set of situations. And third are personal attributes. You broadly get through interviews and referencing. Leadership qualities, chemistry with people, ethics, integrity, those kind of things. Now, one thing which always comes up beyond, every company when they're looking for a HR head, they want more of it. I want as senior a person as possible, as accomplished, good leader, all of those things. But one thing in terms of attributes, they mention first thing, almost always one of the first 2 things is we want a strong business partner, right? And I think you have all heard that, and I think when we talk to HR heads, potential HR heads, they also start off by describing themselves as very strong business partner, right? Now, we would all violently agree to this, yes, this is important, and we all do this. Now, this is where the paradox comes in. And this kind of struck me in the course of a search, after having done a few HR head searches, which is that we presented a couple of candidates to the client, and these were, in a conventional sense, very good candidates who had done everything that the client was looking for in their careers. They had the right kind of schools in the company, experiences, seniority, etc. And then the client said, I was very disappointed in the interview. It didn't work. So I said, what happened? Why did it not work? They said, there's just one interview question which kind of tripped the candidates, which was the client would ask, what is your job as HR head? And to that question, several candidates, their first answer was, and then they elaborated on it, was to keep people happy, right? And which by itself is an important thing, but from the client perspective, saying we are looking for a business partner. So the first thing, the gut response should be to understand and completely align with the business, whatever the condition. And here was the dichotomy, right? That people, even including candidates, and I have gotten into tough arguments, were saying that, look, if business doesn't do well, then you don't do well either. No employee does well. And that's where the dichotomy comes in, that HR heads viewing their job as taking position in favor of employees against set of unknown enemies, not even enemies, adversaries, but it's that job to protect people and so on. And this is where the core understanding starts. To get to the top jobs, I think that's when we go back and reflect it. The people who were liked by most clients were the ones who could most strongly align with the business in the truest sense of the word. So I think that's where one point comes in. And I'll just add one more point here, which is very much related, which is that, again, in a similar such situation, very tough client, we talked about a candidate and we said, we have done 5 references and all are very positive. He said, that's not good. If the person is a good HR head, he or she should have annoyed a couple of people. So I would pause here. I think we can go on and on. What we would want to do is use the opportunity to have these discussions in smaller groups. We will come back and we will encourage you to share what you learned in the groups, and then we will from our side also share some more tactical things that you could do, which is topical for today, which is how do you progress in your career as HR leaders.
One thing I would add before we move to the groups, actually a couple of things. One is around, so Piyush and I were having this conversation about, if you got to describe what a CEO is looking for, it typically ends up being this standard answer of it depends, right? But the fact of the matter is, if you go beyond that and say, if we were to force ourselves to find a common denominator across, what is it? At the end of the day, as a head of HR, you are essentially part of the senior management team. You have a seat at the table. That essentially means you are the same as a head of sales, you're the same as a head of finance, whatever it is. What it means is, you ought to be able to do both the strategic elements, where you take what is a business strategy and can translate that into what does it mean for organizational strategy, and do all the strategic elements of how am I thinking about leadership development, how am I thinking about organizational design, how am I thinking about performance management, what is the culture I'm trying to create in the organization, all the strategic elements. At the same time, not drop the ball when it comes to translating that strategy into execution, right? The day-to-day activities. So, if we were to at least start off the thought process, we would say, do both the strategic things and the operational things well, right? Each one of you will have a spike in different areas, which is okay, right? Before we start the group, I also wanted to get from the group on what do you want to get out of the discussion today?
Maybe some clarity on whether you need to be a specialist or a generalist in order to be senior HR.
What are the key competencies which we have to focus to get into the top position like that.
Okay.
To deliver or execute a plan.
Got it. How much do you need to know other functions, workings of other areas beyond HR? Okay. Going back some of the points you were starting to mention. How to balance the human concerns with business concerns? Absolutely.
Business concerns can go away.
Yeah. Absolutely. Great.
But doesn't voice them out very clearly or just deliberately keeping them in their minds. Those kind of things.
How do you get to the real need the CEO has in their mind?
Right. What's stated and the unstated.
Got it? Assumptions and expectations.
And I think right now even the legal compliances, say for example you have a law like COD, how do you adhere to that legal? I worked in that area and some CEOs are saying I would rather not hire women than get into this trouble, And it's scary.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line from, making it legalistic? And how do you make sure that you're compliant at the same time?
Got it. Thank you. So we just wanted to get the thought process going. Now we split into the groups, right? So I just get you to ask the questions. I'm not going to answer the questions. We have the experts who will answer the questions, right? So we will get started with the group discussion.
So IPL style auction. Give all of you guys points and I'm going to bid for it. Some of the HR leaders told us that no, we can't do that. So we said we'll do it randomly.
They don't get paid, yeah.
So we're going to, I'm going to introduce each of the HR heads and assign them to one of the groups. The first person I want to introduce is Anand Bhaskar of Sapient. He is the head of HR of Sapient. Can you please come to the group? So he's the head of HR. Can you please come to the group?
What is the number?
That's the number, 2 the third person I want to introduce is Monarch Limai, who is the head of HR for Software AG. Group 4, Madhavi Srinivas, who is the head of HR of Sonata Software. Group 5, Vijay Raghavan, who is the head of HR of Stemputics Manipal Group. Group 6, I want to introduce Mr. Pradipta, head of HR for CGI. Group 6 is that. Group 7, I want to introduce Shubhayu Sengupta, head of HR for EY Global Share Services. Group 8, Anuja Singh, head of HR for Wells Fargo. Group 9, Anand Rao, head of HR for PricewaterhouseCoopers. Group 10, Somnath, head of HR for Atkins Global. Group 11, Ashok, head of HR for Max Hypermarket or Spar Supermarket. Group 12, Priya, head of HR for Exide Life, earlier ING Life Insurance. Is there another group requirement or just 12 groups? Everybody is split into one of those groups? Last two rows, can you please form into two clusters? The last two rows. Also, leader assigned to your group. And after the 20 minutes, the HR leader will move to another group. So each of you will get a chance to interact at least with two specific HR heads over the next 30 to 40 minutes. Any questions? Please.